In recent months, the automotive world has seen a surprising shift in how people talk about Bugatti, a brand that was once almost untouchable in terms of prestige and engineering excellence. Known for creating some of the fastest and most expensive cars ever built, Bugatti has always represented the peak of automotive luxury. Cars like the Chiron and the new Tourbillon are not just vehicles. They are symbols of wealth, status, and cutting-edge technology. However, things have started to change, and not in a good way. The controversy began gaining attention after popular automotive YouTubers like Armstrong and McCann shared their real-life experiences dealing with Bugatti. These were not random complaints or small issues. They were detailed, documented situations showing how difficult it can be to get support from the company when something goes wrong. For many viewers, this was shocking. People expect problems with cars sometimes, even expensive ones, but what they don't expect is being ignored or restricted by the manufacturer after spending millions of dollars. This has led to a serious question being asked by potential buyers. If you spend $3 to $5 million on a hypercar, shouldn't you get full support and freedom as an owner? The situation has created doubt in the minds of wealthy buyers, and in the world of hypercars, trust is everything. Unlike normal car buyers, these customers do not make quick decisions. They research deeply, talk to other owners, and carefully study what ownership is really like. Now, when they search online, they don't just see beautiful Bugatti cars. They also see stories of frustration, delays, and strict control. This kind of negative exposure can have a powerful impact, especially because it comes from trusted creators who show everything on camera. As a result, Bugatti's image is slowly shifting from a dream brand to a more controversial one, where people are starting to question whether the ownership experience truly matches the price and reputation. At the heart of this issue is a deeper problem that goes beyond just a few bad experiences. It is about how much control a company should have after selling a product, especially one that costs millions of dollars. Bugatti has built its business model around strict control. From servicing to part supply, almost everything must go through official Bugatti channels. On one hand, this makes sense. These cars are extremely complex, and the company wants to ensure safety, quality, and brand standards. However, the problem begins when this control turns into limitation. In the case of Armstrong, he needed parts for a rebuild project, but Bugatti refused to supply them, making it almost impossible to continue the work through normal means. This created the impression that Bugatti does not support independent repairs, even when the owner is willing to take responsibility. Similarly, McCann shared a frustration when he tried to get pricing for a gearbox repair and faced long delays with little communication. These experiences suggest that Bugatti expects owners to fully depend on them for everything, without offering flexibility. For many wealthy buyers, this is not acceptable. These individuals are used to having choices. They want the option to use independent specialists, customize their vehicles, or manage repairs in a way that suits them. When a company removes these options, it starts to feel less like ownership and more like a controlled experience. This is where the real conflict begins. Buyers are not just paying for a car. They are paying for freedom, convenience, and peace of mind. If they feel restricted after purchase, it reduces the overall value of the car, no matter how advanced it is. This is why the issue is so serious. It is not just about one or two customers. It is about the entire ownership experience. If Bugatti continues to enforce strict rules without adapting to customer expectations, it risks losing the trust that has taken decades to build. And in the luxury market, once trust is damaged, it is very difficult to repair. While Bugatti faces criticism, its competitors are quietly gaining an advantage by offering a different approach. Brands like Koenigsegg and Pagani are showing that it is possible to maintain exclusivity without restricting customers. Koenigsegg, for example, is known not only for its incredible engineering, but also for its close relationship with customers. The company's founder is actively involved with owners, and the brand is more open to modifications and independent work. This creates a sense of partnership rather than control. Similarly, Pagani focuses heavily on personalization and customer experience. Buyers feel valued and respected, not limited by strict rules. When someone is deciding between a Bugatti and a competitor like a Koenigsegg Jesko or a Pagani Hypercar, these differences become very important. Performance alone is no longer enough. Today's buyers want a complete experience, from purchase to long-term ownership. They want to know that if something goes wrong, they will be supported, not restricted. They also want to feel that they truly own the car, with the freedom to make decisions about it. This shift in expectations is changing the hypercar market. It is no longer just about speed or design. It is about trust, transparency, and flexibility. If Bugatti does not adapt to these changes, it risks falling behind, even if its cars remain technically superior. The market is becoming more competitive, and buyers have more choices than ever before. This means brands can no longer rely only on their history or reputation. They must continuously improve and listen to their customers. In this environment, even small mistakes can have big consequences, especially when they're shared online with millions of viewers. The rise of social media and YouTube has made everything more visible, and companies can no longer control their image as easily as before. This new reality is forcing brands to be more open and customer-focused, and those who fail to do so may struggle to keep up. One of the biggest reasons the situation has become so serious for Bugatti is the power of modern social media. In the past, luxury brands had much more control over their image. They worked mainly with selected journalists, exclusive magazines, and private events. Negative stories were rare, and even when problems happened, they were usually handled quietly. But today, platforms like YouTube have completely changed how information spreads. Creators like Armstrong and McCann document everything in detail, showing real situations as they happen. Millions of people can watch these experiences, including the exact type of audience that can afford hypercars. This means that one bad experience is no longer just one person's problem. It becomes a global discussion. When viewers see repeated issues like delays in communication, refusal to supply parts, or strict repair policies, they begin to form opinions. Even if they were once interested in buying a Bugatti, they may start to hesitate. The most powerful part of this exposure is that it feels real and unfiltered. Unlike advertisements or official statements, YouTube videos show actual conversations, reactions, and outcomes. This builds a high level of trust with the audience. As a result, these videos can influence buying decisions in a way traditional media never could. Another important factor is permanence. Once a video is uploaded, it stays online forever. Future buyers researching Bugatti ownership will likely come across these videos and use them as part of their decision-making process. This creates a long-term impact that cannot easily be reversed. Even if Bugatti improves its policies later, the old videos will still exist as evidence of past issues. This is why the situation is so challenging. It is not just about fixing a current problem. It is about changing a public perception that has already been formed. In today's digital world, reputation can change very quickly, but rebuilding it takes much longer. For a brand that depends heavily on prestige and exclusivity, this kind of public exposure can be especially damaging. It forces a company to respond, adapt, and rethink its approach, because ignoring the issue is no longer an option. The concerns around Bugatti are not just about reputation. They also have real financial consequences. Bugatti operates very differently from mass-market car companies. It produces a limited number of vehicles each year, often only a few hundred units, and each car is sold at a very high price, usually between $3 million and $5 million, depending on the model and customization. This means that every single sale is extremely important. If demand drops even slightly, the impact on revenue can be significant. For example, losing just a few sales in a year could mean tens of millions of dollars in lost income. This is why buyer confidence is so critical. If potential customers start to doubt the ownership experience, they may delay their purchase or choose a different brand altogether. Another important factor is the resale market. Hypercars are often seen not only as luxury items, but also as investments. Buyers expect that their cars will hold value over time, or even increase in price due to rarity and demand. However, if people begin to believe that Bugatti ownership comes with complications or limitations, it can affect how these cars are valued in the second-hand market. Lower resale values can discourage new buyers, creating a cycle where reduced demand leads to lower prices, which then leads to even less demand. This kind of downward trend can be very difficult to stop once it begins. It also affects existing owners, who may feel less confident about their investment. In the luxury market, perception plays a huge role. A brand is not just selling a product. It is selling an image, a promise, and a sense of exclusivity. If that image is damaged, it can have long-lasting effects. Bugatti's business model depends on maintaining a strong reputation and a loyal customer base. If trust begins to weaken, it can impact not only current sales, but also future projects and new model launches. This is why the situation is being taken seriously by industry observers. It is not just a temporary issue. It has the potential to influence the brand's long-term success. Looking ahead, Bugatti faces an important decision that could shape its future in the hypercar market. The company has two main paths it can take. The first option is to adapt to changing customer expectations. This could involve becoming more flexible with part supply, allowing more support for independent repairs, improving communication with customers, and showing a willingness to listen to feedback. By doing this, Bugatti could rebuild trust and strengthen its relationship with both current and future owners. It would also align the brand with modern values, such as transparency and customer empowerment. In many ways, this approach could turn the current situation into an opportunity for growth. If Bugatti publicly addresses the concerns raised by creators like Matt Armstrong and McCann, it could show that the company is responsive and willing to improve. This could help change the narrative and restore confidence in the brand. The second option is to maintain its current strategy of strict control and exclusivity. While this approach may protect the brand's traditional values, it also carries risks. As the market evolves, customers are placing more importance on flexibility and ownership freedom. If Bugatti does not adapt, it may lose customers to competitors who offer more open and supportive experience. Brands like Koenigsegg and Pagani are already moving in this direction, and they can continue to gain market share if Bugatti remains unchanged. The decision is not easy, especially for a brand with a long history of exclusivity and control. However, the reality is that the market is changing and customer expectations are evolving. The companies that succeed will be the ones that find the right balance between maintaining their identity and meeting the needs of their customers. For Bugatti, this moment could be a turning point. It has the opportunity to either reinforce its position as a leader in the hypercar world or risk losing relevance in an increasingly competitive market. The outcome will depend on how the company responds to the challenges it is currently facing. When people think about brands like Bugatti, they often focus on speed, design, and engineering. While these factors are important, the true value of a hypercar goes far beyond performance. At this level, buyers are not just purchasing a machine, they are buying experience. This experience includes everything from how the car is delivered to how the company treats the owner years after the purchase. In the luxury world, service and support are just as important as the product itself. Buyers expect smooth communication, quick responses, and flexible solutions when problems arise. However, the recent situations shared by Matt Armstrong and McCann have raised concerns about whether Bugatti is meeting these expectations. If an owner struggles to get basic support, it changes how the entire brand is perceived. The excitement of owning a rare and powerful car can quickly turn into frustration if the after-sales experience is difficult. This is especially important because hypercars are not used like normal vehicles. They often require special maintenance, rare parts, and expert handling. Owners rely heavily on the manufacturer for guidance and support. If that support feels limited or restrictive, it reduces the sense of luxury. True luxury is about ease, comfort, and confidence. It means knowing that no matter what happens, the brand will take care of you. If buyers start to feel uncertain about this, they may begin to question whether the brand still deserves its top position in the market. This is where Bugatti faces a challenge. It must ensure that its ownership experience matches the expectations that come with its price tag. Otherwise, even the most advanced engineering will not be enough to satisfy customers. In today's market, the definition of luxury is changing. It is no longer just about owning something rare. It is about how that ownership feels every single day. Trust plays a central role in any major purchase, but becomes even more important when the price reaches millions of dollars. For buyers considering a car from Bugatti, trust is not just about the quality of the car. It is about the entire relationship with the brand. Customers need to believe that the company will support them in every situation, from routine maintenance to unexpected problems. The stories shared by Matt Armstrong and McCann have created doubts in this area. Even if these cases are not common, They are powerful because they show what can happen when things go wrong. In the luxury market, perception often matters more than reality. A single negative story can influence many potential buyers, especially when it is supported by video evidence. This is because people naturally focus on risk when making big decisions. They ask themselves, what is the worst-case scenario? If the answer involves being ignored or restricted by the manufacturer, it can be enough to change their decision. Trust is also built over time through consistent behavior. Brands that communicate clearly, respond quickly, and offer solutions build strong relationships with their customers. On the other hand, brands that appear distant or unresponsive can lose that trust quickly. For Bugatti, maintaining trust is essential because its entire business depends on a small number of very high-value customers. Losing even a few of these customers can have a noticeable impact. Rebuilding trust is also more difficult than maintaining it. Once doubts enter the minds of buyers, it takes time and effort to remove them. This is why the current situation is so important. It is not just about fixing individual problems. It is about restoring confidence in the brand as a whole. Without trust, even the most prestigious brand can struggle to attract new customers in today's world. Transparency has become a key expectation, even in industries that were once very private. For a brand like Bugatti, this shift presents both a challenge and an opportunity. In the past, luxury brands relied on mystery and exclusivity to maintain their image. Information was limited, and customers often trusted the brand without question. However, modern buyers are different. They want to know how things work, what policies are in place, and how the company handles problems. They expect clear communication and honest answers. The rise of online platforms has made it easier for people to share their experiences, both positive and negative. This means that companies can no longer hide behind their reputation. They must be open and responsive if they want to maintain trust. The situations involving Matt Armstrong and McCann highlight the importance of transparency. When communication is slow or unclear, it creates frustration and uncertainty. On the other hand, when a company explains its decisions and engages with customers openly, it can build stronger relationships. Transparency also helps set realistic expectations. If customers understand the reasons behind certain policies, they are more likely to accept them. For example, if Bugatti clearly explains why certain repairs must be handled in a specific way, it could reduce confusion and dissatisfaction. However, this requires a shift in mindset. The company must be willing to communicate more openly and involve customers in the process. This is not easy for a brand that has traditionally focused on exclusivity and control. But as the market evolves, transparency is becoming a key factor in success. Companies that embrace it can build stronger connections with their customers, while those that resist may find it harder to compete. For Bugatti, adapting to this new reality can help restore its image and strengthen its position in the luxury automotive world. For a brand like Bugatti, image is everything. It is not just about selling cars. It is about representing the highest level of automotive excellence. For decades, Bugatti has been seen as a symbol of perfection, combining extreme performance with unmatched luxury. However, brand image is very delicate, especially in the modern world where information spreads quickly and widely. The recent discussions sparked by Matt Armstrong and McCann have introduced a new narrative, one that focuses not on the cars themselves, but on the ownership experience. This shift is important because it changes what people associate with the brand. Instead of thinking only about speed and engineering, potential buyers are now also thinking about support, communication, and flexibility. Over time, this can reshape how the brand is perceived. If negative stories continue to spread without a strong response from the company, they can become part of Bugatti's identity. This is especially true in the digital age, where past content remains easily accessible. New buyers researching the brand may encounter these stories before they see any official marketing, which can influence their first impression. Rebuilding a strong image requires consistent effort. It involves not only addressing current concerns, but also demonstrating improvement over time. Positive experiences must replace negative ones, and satisfied customers must become the new voice of the brand. This process does not happen quickly. It requires patience, transparency, and a genuine commitment to change. For Bugatti, the challenge is to protect its legacy while adapting to new expectations. If it succeeds, it can maintain its position as a leader in the hypercar market. If it fails, it risks becoming a brand that is admired for its past but questioned in the present. The long-term impact will depend on the actions a company takes now and how it communicates those actions to the world. The situation surrounding Bugatti is not just about one company. It reflects a larger shift happening across the entire hypercar industry. As customer expectations evolve, all luxury brands are being pushed to rethink their approach to ownership and service. Buyers today are more informed, more connected, and more demanding than ever before. They are not satisfied with simply owning an exclusive product. They want a complete and positive experience throughout the life of that product. This means companies must focus not only on innovation and performance, but also on customer relationships and support systems. The experiences shared by Matt Armstrong and Mark McCann have highlighted gaps that may exist in traditional business models. These gaps are now being noticed by a global audience, forcing brands to respond. Competitors like Koenigsegg and Pagani are already adapting by focusing on personalization, accessibility, and strong customer engagement. This creates a new standard that others must meet. In many ways, the industry is moving toward a more customer-focused model, where flexibility and transparency are just as important as exclusivity. This shift could lead to positive changes for buyers, giving them more control and better support. However, it also presents challenges for brands that are used to operating in a more controlled environment. They must find ways to balance their traditional values with modern expectations. The outcome of this transition will shape the future of the hypercar market. Companies that adapt successfully will continue to grow and attract loyal customers, while those that resist change may struggle to remain competitive. For Bugatti, this moment represents both a challenge and an opportunity to lead this transformation rather than follow in the end. The situation facing Bugatti comes down to one simple but powerful factor: trust. No matter how advanced a car is or how prestigious a brand may be, customers need to feel confident in their decision. They need to know that the company will stand behind its product and support them throughout their ownership journey. The stories shared by Matt Armstrong and Mark McCann have raised important questions about whether this trust is being maintained. These questions are now part of a larger conversation that extends beyond individual cases and into the future of the brand itself. Buyers are watching closely to see how Bugatti responds. Will the company adapt and improve its approach, or will it continue with its current strategy? The answer will determine not only its short-term success, but also its long-term reputation. In a market where customers have more choices than ever before, trust can be the deciding factor. Brands that earn and maintain trust will continue to thrive, while those that lose it may find it difficult to recover. For Bugatti, this is a critical moment. It has the history, the technology, and the reputation to remain at the top of the industry, but it must also meet the expectations of modern buyers. By focusing on customer relationships, improving transparency, and offering greater flexibility, it has the opportunity to turn this challenge into a success story. If it fails to do so, it risks losing not just sales, but the confidence of the very customers who have supported the brand for years. In the world of hypercars, where every decision matters, trust is not just important. It is everything. To fully understand the situation, it is important to look at things from the perspective of Bugatti and why the company follows such strict rules in the first place. Bugatti does not build ordinary cars. These machines are extremely complex, with advanced engineering that pushes the limits of what is possible in the automotive world. Because of this, the company wants to make sure every repair, every part, and every service meets its exact standards. From a safety point of view, this makes sense. A small mistake in a high-performance hypercar can lead to serious damage or even danger. By controlling everything, Bugatti ensures that its cars perform exactly as designed and that the brand's reputation for perfection is protected. There is also another reason behind this approach, and that is exclusivity. Bugatti has always been about more than just cars. It is about status. By limiting access to parts and services, the company keeps tight control over how its vehicles are maintained and modified. This helps maintain a consistent image and prevents poorly done repairs or modifications from damaging the brand's reputation. However, while these reasons may seem logical from a business point of view, they can create problems for customers. The issue is not control itself,